Thank you very much, Jenny Clover for Reuters. I wanted to ask two related questions about political opposition in Rwanda. Earlier this week, there were reports that opposition figures in South Africa were meeting with a view to coming back to Rwanda. I just wondered what your views are on those reports. And secondly, sort of related but different question, would you like to see more opposition parties being registered in Rwanda ahead of the elections later this year?
What is that?
You missed the second one. Would you like to see more opposition parties being registered in Rwanda ahead of the elections this year?
Opposition figures in South Africa wanting to come to Rwanda, they are welcome in any form and shape and in any way, whether they come peacefully or whether they come through other means, they are welcome. We welcome them in the manner they will be coming to Rwanda. So on that one, I think it is as simple as that. I even always wonder why they have to live outside. They need to come and live here and face the challenges the other Rwandans face. The second one, if I want to see more opposition, I don't know what this means. I'm not responsible for the opposition. I'm not in the opposition. So, but as you say, if there are opposition groups around, whether there are 3 or 4 or 5 or 20, I know some would want even hundreds of them. But the opposition, I don't create the opposition. The opposition should develop and be there as of and by themselves. But as I've seen, we are used to people from outside, and also in the media, the opposition being something that we should create or they should create. So the media or others can keep creating as many oppositions as they want. For me, I will welcome them. Opposition. What does it even mean? I don't know. Opposition parties, you see, it is very strange. People tend to tell us that as many opposition parties or groups we have, the more democratic we are. And they have as few as, they never go beyond 2 or 3, actually, groups. These advocates of so many opposition groups, for them, they are always swinging between 2 and 3. They have 2 main ones known, and then they have others called independents who disappear one time and come back another time. But the main ones are always 2 or 3. But for Africa and for Rwanda, they should be like hundreds. In actual fact, it's interesting. Why? I have seen countries, even in our neighborhood, who have hundreds of opposition groups. Yet I've never seen them referred to as the most democratic countries you have around. On the contrary. So what is this whole thing about opposition? So my sister, the opposition, if you have someone you want to introduce, you're welcome. Yes. There is a place for them.
Thank you very much. My name is Colin. I'm from the New Times. Mr. President, there's a debate that has been going on for quite a bit about what will happen after 2017. And one of the key issues here is that whilst, especially during your citizen outreach, there were residents who are asking you to stand, and yet the Constitution gives a maximum of 2 terms. But at the end of the day, one of the key things is the strength of the institutions that we have. How would you rate the capacity of our institutions to manage this transition come 2017? Thank you.
Let me say also, if we were to be honest, and if my memory serves me well, because I read in the papers, newspapers, I hear on radios, I hear that and that. I think to say that I started the debate is half true. You actually started the debate. You members of the press and the media and many others. I have been asked these questions about term limits, about whether am I going, am I not going. Do you know how many years it is now that I've been asked these questions? I was asked these questions even before I finished my first term. You are aware of that. And even in the second term, I've been asked this and other questions about it all the time. So I'm not the one starting the debate. But I am now participating in the debate. That's what I have done. On the 8th of February, I invited leaders from my party at different levels, many of them. We call it Expanded NEC, National Executive Committee. I think there are close to 2,000 people. And the intention of RPF, my intention as well, was to put this matter in some perspective, because it was unnecessarily creating diversion. It was also creating confusion when every day I have to be asked things. And in fact, as you also pointed out, it has been also affecting citizens. They hear questions. You've seen many times, it's like they hear on the radio, I'm being asked, are you going, aren't you going, when are you going, and so on and so forth. And it's like the ordinary citizen, when I am visiting the countryside, they ask me, said, we hear people asking you when you are going or whether you are going, where are you going? Yes, and it's like they are saying, those asking you or those telling you this and that, first of all, are the least concerned. We are the ones most concerned. This is, I can make that interpretation for them. If I don't know what interpretation you make about it, I'm just telling you my honest views about it. So, for how long do we go with this kind of confusion without putting it in some perspective and in a way of managing it? Well, I read papers every other day. I think I saw somebody who is supposed to be educated writing in papers saying, Well, the Constitution says this. It is clear. Why is the president bothered? Why would he be bothered? Jesus Christ. How can the president not be bothered? The role of the responsibility of the president is to be bothered about the rights of the citizens, the respect of the Constitution, the implications of anything that touches the Constitution or the rights of the citizens. That's the responsibility of the president. Absolutely. The well-being, the security, and everything of the citizens of the country. So how can somebody say, why is the president bothered? Well, I would ask, why is he bothered himself? The one asking the question. Who has less responsibility, far less responsibility than the president. So it doesn't make sense that, so I am bothered, absolutely bothered. What is happening in the country, what will happen in this country is number one person to be bothered is the president of the country. So let's get it right. So I am bothered where we have come from, where we are, and where we are going. That's what I have been hired for in this responsibility I hold today. Whether, in fact, why I raise these questions is to make sure that we don't have a president who is not bothered come to my time of departure. Precisely. You may end up having a president who is not bothered. And you have got the worst deal in your lifetime. So that point has to be very clear. And in that debate, some people even say there was ambiguity. Well, it's a matter of choosing to see it that way. I don't think there was an ambiguity in what I raised in that meeting that underlies the debate that followed after. There's no ambiguity in my opinion, because I made 3 points very clear that are important to me, again, as a matter of the responsibility I carry for this country, or even as a citizen of this country, for that matter. One, I raised the issue of change, which is indeed entailed in the Constitution. The Constitution talks about change, that's why you are talking about term limits, that's why you are talking about 2017, and so on and so forth. So it talks about change. So what is expected come 2017 is change. That's the term limit means that. Then I talked about continuity, meaning continuity of progress the country has been making. I believe the country has been making progress. You may have your different views. That's your business. I'm talking about my business and my views. Number 3, I talked about stability. We need change, we need continued progress, and we need stability. That's what Rwanda needs. So Rwanda's situation is very complex. It's very unique, if you will. You can even call it special if you want. We have a history that is so complex, that is complicated. And it makes so everything else we have to deal with. You find a lot of complexity, you have a lot of complications in matters we have to deal with. So if you approached it in a business as usual manner, I don't think you are likely to make progress. So in a way, there is this unique situation we find ourselves in, and which will also be found in how we do business, in how we deal with our affairs. Absolutely. That's the way I see it. So the issue of saying, well, there is ambiguity, the president wants a third term, well, look at me. I am not the person who needs the third term. Just look at me. I don't need it. I don't do this job I am doing as a job for being paid, or as something that benefits me, or as something that pleases anyone else. It's not how I do business, it's not me. So I don't need your third term or whoever is saying it. That's not what I'm talking about. I don't go there to address people because I want to tell them about, or I want a third term. No, I don't want anything from you or from anybody. I want to do my business for which the people of Rwanda trusted me to carry out. And when I'm done, I'm done. That's how and I can continue to serve my country in different roles, in different ways. That's so. Let's not trivialize it. Trivializing it means you take national matters like these or national interests like this, and you trivialize them. The well-being, the interests, the security, the future of 11 million people of Rwanda are all just made as simple as saying, well, the president wants another term, or it becomes one person, the president wanting this and that. And the whole essence of what the country should be doing, or the direction it should be moving into, or the well-being of the whole country is lost. And we just have this one thing going on around and around and around, instead of thinking about the future of this country. So I am thinking about the future of this country, of Rwanda. I'm not thinking about the third term. This is secondary. So, first of all, somebody say one shouldn't be bothered. Secondly, to say the discussion. Of course, I know also that as we are here in this room, or like we're in that room where we had that discussion, you are talking to 2,000 people. Probably by the time they get out of the room, they have 2,000 different versions of what was talked about in that room. But my version was clear and straightforward. I said everything I had to say, and I meant what I said. But if there are people who were expecting to hear from me what they wanted to hear from me, no, I was there to be heard on what I wanted to say, not what somebody wanted to hear from me. There's a difference. I don't necessarily go to a place to tell people what they want to hear from me. I go to tell them what I want them to hear from me. So that is the difference. But there should be no different versions to that magnitude about what I said, much as what I said, and because of this situation and the complexity of it, the matter necessarily doesn't get clear to everyone. Why one says what they say in reference or in relation to that situation. That's why maybe some already confused people get even more confused. But I'm not responsible for that. If you want confusion, that's what you get. If you want clarity, you get it. This is what I wanted to say about that. So, since I've been asked these questions all the time, whether here in the country or outside, I have responded to that in a way that puts the task on them to think about it and to be the ones to answer it, so that I can settle and do my business, the business for which these Rwandans elected me to do. So is there any other thing that is unambiguous about that? I have time to make further clarification. Because I, at least as far as I know, we may have another 30 versions of what I said. By the time we leave this room, I still want to narrow the number of versions that will come out of here. But most importantly, this Rwanda that has suffered for long and so much, I think it needs to be treated with a lot of respect and think very carefully and treat as important our future and the lives of our people is key. It's not and should not depend on semantics and some intellectual, all kinds of versions of how things should be looked at or even done. Right, so let's go to another point. If you are not satisfied or anybody, we can come to it later on.